Have you ever wondered what makes someone think about you nonstop, crave your attention, and truly realize your worth? As if they suddenly realize that the one they were treating as trash is the very person they can't stop thinking about. Like they're suddenly seeing their puppet in a way they never did before. And eventually, they're left craving the connection they once took for granted. Sounds like a scene from some fantastical story, right? Well, it's not. This is real, and it happens the moment you decide to cut the strings of being their puppet, stop feeding their need for validation, and focus on your own power. It's when you pull back, step into your own strength, and create that distance that they start to feel the magnetic pull of your absence. This isn't about ghosting them. It's about reclaiming your power and letting them feel what life is like without you in it. They begin to realize that your presence was more than just a convenience. It was a source of stability, energy, and something they can't quite put their finger on, but suddenly can't live without. Imagine this. They're going about their daily routine, but something feels off. The usual text from you doesn't come. The familiar sound of your voice is missing. Suddenly, the world feels a little colder, a little emptier. They try to fill the void with distractions, with other people, but nothing quite measures up. It's in these quiet moments of solitude that they start to understand just how much your presence meant. Your absence becomes a mirror, reflecting back all the ways they took you for granted and failed to appreciate you when you were right there in front of them. Now, with you gone, the realization hits them harder than they ever expected. As the saying goes, absence sharpens love. Presence strengthens it. This quote perfectly captures the essence of why stepping back can have such a profound impact. By creating space, you're giving them the opportunity to truly feel the weight of your absence, to recognize what they've lost, and to understand just how much you meant to them. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes it's in the void we leave behind that our true value is most deeply felt. So, my Stoic friends, let us proceed toward today's affirmation. I am highly valuable. Declare it loud, throw it out in the comments, and let them find out that you know your worth. You are no longer their puppet, no longer at their beck and call. Show the world that you've reclaimed your power, that you stand strong and unshakable in your value. Now, before we dive into the reasons why they come back after you've given them distance, let's take a moment to discuss something crucial. This is the foundation of everything we're about to explore. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. Put aside whatever else you're doing and focus here, because understanding this could change the entire outcome for you. Imagine you've distanced yourself. You've pulled back, created that space. Now, what? Is that enough? Not quite. At the start of this video, I mentioned that you're distancing yourself to focus on you. That's the key. If you think simply walking away is where the story ends, you're mistaken. Sure, they might start missing your absence, but that only happens if there's already a spark in their heart, a hidden flame of love for you. But what if that flame was never there? What if they don't miss you, but rather the convenience you provided, the role you played as their puppet? Here's the harsh truth. If they treated you like trash, like a puppet, they didn't value you, not truly. And if they didn't value you, your absence might not affect them the way you hope. So what now? Is this the end of the road? Absolutely not. The reasons I'm about to share with you are the ones that can make them start craving you. But here's the catch. These reasons will only work if you grasp them fully and let them guide you on the right path. This is how you light the flame in their heart, how you turn the tables. Now that you've got a clearer understanding, let's move on to the part you've been waiting for, the reasons why they'll come back craving your presence. And friends, please make sure that you don't miss even one reason, as each one is crucial to turning their indifference into desire. Reason 1. The shock of unexpected growth. So folks, let's discuss the first powerful reason why they'll start craving your presence after you've given them distance. The shock of unexpected growth. This is where things really start to get interesting, and I want you to pay close attention because this is the game changer. Imagine this. You've distanced yourself from someone who once treated you like their personal puppet, someone who perhaps took you for granted. They expect you to stay the same, predictable, always there, always the person they could count on to be at their beck and call. But what happens when you don't just disappear into the background? What happens when, instead of sulking in the shadows, you emerge as a completely transformed individual, someone they barely recognize because of how much you've grown? Let me tell you, it's nothing short of shocking. When you take that time apart, not just to distance yourself, but to truly work on yourself, you're doing something incredibly powerful. You're taking control of your narrative. You're no longer letting someone else define your worth or dictate your actions. Instead, you're investing in your growth, mentally, physically, emotionally, and maybe even spiritually. And this, my friends, is where the magic happens. Now, they might not see it right away. At first, they might think, oh, they'll come back, or they're just going through a phase. But when they start to notice the changes in you, it's like a slap in the face. They're expecting the old you to come crawling back, but instead, they get a stronger, more confident, and more self-assured version of you. And this, folks, is where the shock factor comes in. So, why does this shock matter so much? It's simple. People crave what they can't have and what they don't fully understand. When you show up as someone who has grown unexpectedly, they no longer feel like they have you all figured out. You've shattered their perception of you, and now they're left scrambling to catch up. This shift in power is crucial because it forces them to see you in a new light. Suddenly, they're the ones feeling unsure and insecure. As the great philosopher Heraclitus once said, the only constant in life is change. By embracing change and focusing on your growth, you're not just evolving, you're becoming someone who is impossible to ignore. Let's get real with an example. Imagine you've been in a relationship where your partner started taking you for granted. They knew your routines, your habits, your weaknesses. They felt comfortable, perhaps a little too comfortable, knowing you'd always be there, no matter what. Now you decide enough is enough. You step back, not just to create distance, but to reinvent yourself. You hit the gym, take up new hobbies, start reading more, maybe even explore new career opportunities. You're not doing this to impress them, but for you, to become the best version of yourself. Fast forward a few months, you run into them at a mutual friends gathering. They're expecting the same old you, but instead, they see someone who looks more confident, happier, more at peace. You're glowing with a newfound energy that's impossible to ignore. They're taken aback, maybe even a little intimidated. This is the shock of unexpected growth. They never saw it coming, and now they're left wondering what else they missed about you. Let's be honest, there's a bit of humor in this too, right? It's like when you haven't seen a friend in a while, and they suddenly show up with a six-pack, a new haircut, and a swagger that's completely new. You're left thinking, wait, when did this happen? It's amusing but also a little humbling because you realize that people are always changing, growing, and evolving, often when you least expect it. The same goes for relationships. When someone thinks they have you all figured out, they stop paying attention. They become complacent. But when you shake things up with your growth, it's like hitting the reset button. Suddenly, they're intrigued, curious, and maybe even a little envious of the new you. This brings us to a wise quote from the great Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This quote is incredibly relevant because it speaks to the core of what we're discussing. Your growth, your transformation. It's all within your control. You can't change how others see you or treat you, but you can change how you see yourself and how you grow from your experiences. By focusing on your self-improvement during that period of distance, you're not just waiting around, you're actively taking charge of your life. This strength, this inner power, is what makes you so irresistible when you come back onto their radar. They start to see that you're not just the same person who left. You're someone stronger, more confident, and entirely more compelling. So, what's the takeaway here? It's simple. Never underestimate the power of your own growth. When you distance yourself and use that time to work on becoming the best version of yourself, the impact is undeniable. You're no longer just the person they once knew. You're someone who has evolved beyond their expectations. And that, my friends, is how you turn the tables. Here's where I want you to get involved. Drop a comment below and let me know how you're planning to shock someone with your unexpected growth. What steps are you taking to become the best version of yourself? Remember, this isn't just about proving something to others. It's about proving something to yourself. You have the power to change, to grow, and to become someone even you didn't expect. So, are you ready to embrace this journey of growth? Are you ready to let your unexpected transformation be the wake-up call they never saw coming? Let's do this together, folks. Stay strong, keep growing, and watch as they come back craving the new, improved you. Number 2, the magnetic pull of self-sufficiency. So, folks, let's dive into the second reason why they'll start craving your presence after you've given them distance. The magnetic pull of self-sufficiency. This concept is incredibly powerful because it taps into something deep within human nature, the irresistible allure of someone who doesn't need anyone else to feel whole. Imagine this. You've taken a step back from a relationship or situation where you were once heavily invested. Maybe you were always the one reaching out first, always the one making sure everything was okay. But now, you've shifted your focus inward. Instead of relying on others for validation, you've started validating yourself. You've become self-sufficient, independent, and you're thriving in your own company. Let me tell you, there's nothing more magnetic than that. When you cultivate self-sufficiency, you're sending out a clear message. I'm not here because I need you. I'm here because I choose to be. This shift in mindset is incredibly attractive because it shows that you're not dependent on anyone else for your happiness or sense of self-worth. People are naturally drawn to those who exude confidence and independence, and your self-sufficiency becomes a magnet pulling them in. Think about it. When someone is constantly chasing after you, it's easy to take them for granted. But when they step back and start focusing on their own growth, you begin to see them in a new light. Suddenly, they're not the person who's always there, always available. They've become someone who is comfortable in their own skin, someone who doesn't need anyone else to complete them. And that, my friends, is incredibly compelling. There's a certain irony in this, isn't there? The more you focus on yourself, the more others want to be around you. It's like when you walk into a room with your head held high, fully confident in who you are. People notice. They're drawn to your energy, your self-assuredness, and they start to wonder what it is about you that's changed. Let me give you a little example. Imagine you've been in a friendship where you were always the one giving your time, energy, and support. But now, you've decided to take a step back and focus on your own needs for a change. You start spending more time doing things that make you happy, whether it's hitting the gym, picking up a new hobby, or simply enjoying some quiet time alone. You're no longer waiting for their calls or texts because you're too busy living your best life. Fast forward a few weeks, and you notice something interesting. That friend who once seemed indifferent to your efforts is suddenly more interested in what you're up to. They're reaching out more, asking about your life, and wanting to spend time with you. Why? Because your self-sufficiency has made you more attractive in their eyes. They're drawn to the fact that you're thriving without them, and it creates a magnetic pull that they can't quite resist. This isn't about playing hard to get or manipulating others. It's about genuinely becoming more self-sufficient and letting that inner strength shine through. When you're no longer dependent on others for your happiness, you become someone worth craving, someone others want to be around, not because they have to, but because they're genuinely drawn to your energy. As the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." Your why becomes your own growth, your own happiness, your own self-sufficiency. And when you live with that purpose, it radiates outward, creating a magnetic pull that others can't help but notice. So, here's the takeaway. Self-sufficiency is not just about being independent. It's about being whole within yourself. When you focus on your own growth, you naturally become more attractive to others because you're no longer seeking validation from them. You're content in your own company, and that contentment is magnetic. People will start to crave your presence not because they think you need them, but because they see the strength and independence you've cultivated in their absence. So, how are you planning to cultivate your own self-sufficiency? What steps are you taking to become the best version of yourself? Remember, this isn't about cutting people off. It's about building yourself up so that when people do come into your life, they're drawn to you for all the right reasons. Let's keep growing together, folks, and watch as they can't help but crave the self-sufficient, empowered person you're becoming. With this, friends, we're almost at the halfway point of our video. If you have any questions so far, throw them out in the comments. I'm here to help. If everything is crystal clear, then this video definitely deserves a big thumbs up, so go ahead and like it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on these insights. Now, folks, I want your special attention as we move into the next part of the video. Trust me, this is where things really start to get interesting. Don't let your mind drift away now. Staying focused is key. You've already invested your time to get here, so why not invest just a little more and get to the root of what we're talking about? This next section is crucial, and it could be the difference between understanding what makes them crave your presence and missing out on some life-changing insights. Number 3, the envy of your newfound confidence. So, folks, let's talk about the third reason why they'll start craving your presence after you've given them distance. The envy of your newfound confidence. This one is a real game changer because it taps into a deep-seated human emotion, envy. But we're not talking about the negative, destructive kind of envy. No, this is the kind of envy that's tinged with admiration, the kind that makes people sit up and take notice of the new, confident you. Imagine this: you've spent time working on yourself, focusing on your growth, and now you're walking around with a confidence that's impossible to ignore. You're no longer the person who was hesitant, unsure, or constantly seeking approval from others. Instead, you've become someone who knows their worth, who walks into a room with their head held high, who isn't afraid to take up space. And let me tell you, confidence like that is contagious and a little bit intimidating. When you distance yourself from someone who once took you for granted and use that time to build your confidence, something remarkable happens. They start to see you in a new light. They notice the way you carry yourself, the way you speak with certainty, the way you seem so comfortable in your own skin. And that confidence, it's inviolable. It's the kind of confidence that makes them wonder, how did I not see this before? You see, confidence is attractive because it signals self-assurance. It shows that you're not looking for validation from anyone else. You've found it within yourself. And when people see that, they can't help but feel a twinge of envy. They start to compare themselves to you, wondering why they don't feel that same level of self-assuredness. This envy doesn't make them resent you. Instead, it makes them crave what you have. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you've been in a relationship where your partner always seemed to have the upper hand. They were the confident one, the one who made the decisions, while you were more passive, always going along with what they wanted. But now, after some time apart, you found your own confidence. You've worked on yourself, faced your fears, and come out the other side stronger and more self-assured. The next time you see them, they can't help but notice the difference. You're no longer the person who used to shrink in their presence. Instead, you're standing tall, speaking your mind, and exuding a level of confidence that catches them off guard. They might smile and act happy for you, but inside, there's a little voice saying, "Wow, I wish I had that kind of confidence." And that's where the envy begins to grow. This newfound confidence of yours doesn't just change how they see you. It changes how they feel about themselves. They start to realize that they've been coasting on their own confidence, taking your insecurities for granted. But now, you've leveled the playing field. You're no longer the insecure person they once knew. You're someone who's grown, evolved, and become something entirely new and compelling. There's something almost magical about confidence, isn't there? It has the power to change perceptions, to alter dynamics, and to create a sense of attraction that's impossible to resist. When you're confident, you don't just change how others see you, you change how you see yourself, and that change is palpable to everyone around you. As the brilliant author and philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "Self-trust is the first secret of success." Your newfound confidence is rooted in self-trust, in knowing that you're capable, worthy, and deserving of all the good things life has to offer. When you trust yourself, you don't need anyone else's approval. And that's where real confidence comes from. So, how does this newfound confidence translate into them craving your presence? Simple. They start to realize that the power dynamic has shifted. You're no longer looking to them for reassurance or approval. Instead, you're walking your own path, confident in who you are and what you bring to the table. This shift is both intriguing and a little bit intimidating. They start to envy the confidence you've gained, and in that envy, they find themselves drawn back to you, wanting to be a part of your life again, this time on different terms. Here's the takeaway. Confidence is magnetic. When you cultivate it within yourself, you don't just change your own life, you change how others perceive you. They begin to crave the new, confident version of you, because it's something they aspire to, something they admire, and yes, something they envy. So, folks, how are you working on your confidence? What steps are you taking to build that self-trust that Emerson talked about? Remember, confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about trusting yourself enough to embrace your imperfections and walk boldly in the direction of your dreams. Let's keep growing, keep building, and keep shining with that newfound confidence that makes others take notice. Number 4, the intrigue of unpredictability. All right, folks, let's get into the 4th reason why they'll start craving your presence after you've given them distance. The intrigue of unpredictability. This one's a real kicker because it taps into something that keeps people hooked. The irresistible pull of not knowing what comes next. Imagine this. For the longest time, they thought they had you all figured out. You were predictable, reliable, always there when they needed you. They knew your habits, your routines, and even how you'd respond in certain situations. But now, you've pulled back, taken some distance, and worked on yourself. Suddenly, you're not as easy to read, not as predictable as you once were. And that, my friends, is where the intrigue begins. Unpredictability is fascinating because it breaks the monotony. It makes people curious. They start to wonder what's going on in your life, why you've changed, and what you're going to do next. When you were always available, always doing the same things, they didn't have to think twice about you. But now, every move you make seems new, different, and even a little mysterious. Think about it. People are naturally drawn to things they can't easily understand or anticipate. It's like watching a movie with a plot twist you didn't see coming. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, wanting more. The same goes for relationships. When you become less predictable, they start paying more attention to you. They wonder, what's going on with them? Why aren't they acting the way they used to? And this curiosity, it's addictive. Let me give you an example. Imagine you were always the one who made plans with a friend. They got used to you being the planner, the one who always reached out. But now, you've stepped back. You're still around, but you're not as eager to initiate things. You've started doing your own thing, maybe even exploring new interests that you hadn't shared with them before. Suddenly, they're left wondering, why aren't they calling? What are they up to? That uncertainty makes them think about you more, and it creates a sense of intrigue that wasn't there before. Unpredictability also gives you an element of control. When people can't predict your actions, they're more likely to stay engaged, to keep checking in just to see what you'll do next. It's a subtle way of shifting the dynamic in your favor. Instead of you always wondering what they're up to, now they're the ones wondering about you. And that, my friends, is a powerful position to be in. The philosopher Alan Watts once said, "The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance." By embracing change and unpredictability, you're not just going with the flow, you're leading it. You're setting the rhythm, and they're the ones trying to keep up. So how does this unpredictability translate into them craving your presence? It's simple. People are drawn to what they can't easily define. When you become unpredictable, you become interesting again. They want to know more, to understand the changes in you, and in doing so, they find themselves thinking about you more and more. So folks, how are you embracing unpredictability in your life? What changes have you made that keep others guessing? Remember, being unpredictable isn't about playing games. It's about growing, evolving, and keeping life interesting. Let's keep them on their toes and watch as they can't help but crave the new, intriguing you. Number 5. The realization of what they've lost. Alright folks, let's dive into the 5th reason why they'll start craving your presence after you've given them distance. The realization of what they've lost. This one cuts deep because it's all about that moment when they finally wake up and realize just how much you meant to them, and how much they've lost by taking you for granted. Imagine this: you've distanced yourself, focused on your growth, and started living your best life. Meanwhile, they're going about their routine, thinking that you'll always be there, just like you were before. But as days turn into weeks, something starts to change. They begin to notice the absence of your texts, your calls, your presence in their life. At first, they might brush it off, thinking it's no big deal. But slowly, it begins to sink in. You're not around anymore, and life feels a little emptier without you. This realization hits them like a ton of bricks. Suddenly, they start to see all the little things you did that made their life better. Maybe it's the way you always listened to their problems, the way you made them laugh, or how you were always there when they needed support. These are things they might have taken for granted when you were always around. But now, with your absence, they become glaringly obvious. Here's the thing about loss. It often takes losing something to truly appreciate its value. When you were always available, they didn't have to think about what life would be like without you. But now that you've created that distance, they're forced to confront it. And in that confrontation, they start to realize that maybe, just maybe, they were wrong to take you for granted. Think about it like this. Have you ever misplaced something valuable? Maybe a favorite piece of jewelry or a cherished memento. At first, you might not think much of it. But as time passes, you start to miss it more and more. You begin to regret not taking better care of it, not appreciating it when you had it. The same thing happens in relationships. When you step back, they start to miss the value you brought into their life, and that realization can be powerful. But this isn't just about them feeling bad for losing you. It's about them understanding the depth of what they've lost. They start to replay memories in their mind, recalling the good times you shared, the support you offered, and the happiness you brought into their life. This process of reflection can be eye-opening, and it often leads to a deep sense of regret. And here's where it gets interesting. Once they realize what they've lost, they start to crave it. They want that feeling back, that sense of connection and comfort that only you provided. But here's the kicker. They know they can't just waltz back into your life and pick up where they left off. They know they have to work for it, that they have to prove they deserve a place in your life again. As the saying goes, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. This is the essence of this realization. They took you for granted, and now they're paying the price. But in that loss, in that realization, they start to see you for who you truly are. Someone who brought immense value to their life. Someone they should never have let slip away. So folks, how do you think people in your life will react when they realize what they've lost? Have you ever had someone come back to you after they realized your value? Remember, your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see it. By stepping back, you give them the opportunity to see what they've lost, and to understand just how valuable you truly are. And that, my friends, is when they start craving your presence like never before. Number 6. The desire to be part of your new journey. Alright folks, let's talk about the sixth reason why they'll start craving your presence after you've given them distance. The desire to be part of your new journey. This one's all about the irresistible pull they feel when they see you evolving and growing into a new version of yourself. A version that's stronger, happier, and more fulfilled. Imagine this. After you've stepped back and focused on your own growth, you're no longer the person they once knew. You've been working on yourself, taking on new challenges, exploring new interests, and generally leveling up in life. They see this transformation from a distance, and it's like watching a flower bloom in slow motion. They're captivated by it. Suddenly, you're no longer just that person they once knew. You're someone exciting, someone on a journey that looks incredibly fulfilling. Now, here's where it gets interesting. As they watch you grow, something shifts inside them. They start to realize that they're missing out. They see the positive changes in you, the new experiences you're having, and they begin to feel a desire to be part of this new chapter in your life. It's like being left out of an amazing adventure that everyone else is a part of. And let's be honest, nobody likes feeling left out. This desire isn't just about wanting to reconnect. It's about wanting to be involved in something exciting and new. Your growth, your journey, becomes something they want to be part of. They start thinking about how they could fit into this new version of your life, how they could share in your successes, and be there for the next steps you take. But here's the thing, they know they can't just waltz back into your life as if nothing has changed. They see that you've moved forward, and if they want to be part of your new journey, they'll need to bring something to the table. This realization makes them want to step up their game, to be better, to match the new and improved version of you. So folks, what's your new journey going to look like? How are you evolving and growing? Drop a comment below and share what new paths you're exploring. Remember, when you focus on your own journey, you create a life that others will naturally want to be a part of. And that's when they'll start craving your presence, not because of who you were, but because of who you're becoming. Number 7. The fear of losing you to someone else. Alright folks, let's dive into the final reason why they'll start craving your presence after you've given them distance. The fear of losing you to someone else. This one hits hard because it's driven by one of the most primal emotions, fear. Specifically, the fear that someone else will come along and see the incredible value in you that they took for granted. Imagine this, you've pulled back, focused on yourself, and started to thrive. You're glowing with confidence, self-sufficiency, and new experiences. They see this transformation, and suddenly, it hits them. What if someone else notices this too? What if someone else steps in and sweeps you off your feet? The thought of you moving on with someone new, someone who truly appreciates you, creates a deep sense of urgency and fear in them. This fear isn't just about losing you. It's about losing you to someone who sees what they failed to see. It's the fear that someone else will get to experience the best version of you, the version they never took the time to appreciate. And let's be real, nobody wants to watch someone they once had a connection with move on and be happier with someone else. This fear can be a powerful motivator. It forces them to reevaluate their actions, to consider what they might lose if they don't step up. It's that fear of being replaced, of seeing someone else make you happy, that drives them to crave your presence more than ever. So folks, have you ever seen someone come back into your life because they feared losing you to someone else? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Remember, when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally create a sense of value that others won't want to lose. And that's when they'll realize they need to step up or risk losing you for good. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this journey, folks. If you haven't already, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Remember, the power to transform your life is in your hands. By focusing on your growth, embracing your self-worth, and recognizing the value you bring, you create a life that others will naturally crave to be a part of. Keep pushing forward, stay strong, and never settle for less than you deserve. Your journey is just beginning, and I can't wait to see where it takes you. Stay awesome.